Imagine a world where every idea, every story, and every insight is locked away in the hands of a privileged few. An age where knowledge is scarce, reserved for the elite and the educated, leaving the masses in ignorance. Now, what if I told you that one invention shattered this oppressive silence and changed the course of history forever? The printing press, an engine of change, a catalyst for revolution, transformed not only how we share information but fundamentally altered our society, culture, and understanding of the world. Buckle up, because in the next few moments, I'm going to take you on a journey through time and space, revealing how this remarkable invention affected everything from religion to science and sparked movements that reshaped humanity. You might be wondering how a simple mechanical device managed to wield such power. Isn't it fascinating to think about how the act of putting ink to paper opened floodgates of awareness and thought? By the end of this exploration, you'll be equipped with a fresh perspective on the profound impact of the printing press, a perspective so enlightening that it might just spark your curiosity to learn more about the connections between innovation and societal change. Let's rewind to the mid-15th century, a time when the world was ripe for transformation. The Renaissance was in full swing. It brought an explosion of art, science, and rediscovery of classical knowledge. Yet, despite this flowering of human creativity, the dissemination of ideas remained painstakingly slow. Manuscripts were laboriously copied by hand, often taking months or even years to produce. As a result, books were scarce, expensive luxuries only accessible to monasteries, universities, and a few wealthy individuals. Can you imagine living in a world where your thoughts were your only possessions, their sharing limited to word of mouth? This daunting limitation was about to change forever thanks to Johannes Gutenberg, a man whose remarkable innovation would not only make books more available but also democratize knowledge. In 1440, he invented the movable type printing press, an ingenious mechanism that allowed for the efficient production of written material. The moment Gutenberg printed his first book, the Gutenberg Bible, he didn't just produce a religious text, he sparked a revolution that would echo through history. What comes next will leave you speechless. Gutenberg's printing press allowed for the production of thousands of copies of a single work, slashing the cost of books and amplifying the reach of literature. Can you fathom the implications? No longer were libraries solely stocked with a few elite works. Common people began enjoying stories, scientific treatises, and, yes, even controversial ideas. The ability to print and spread information widely laid the groundwork for literacy levels to surge and, in doing so, propelled societies into uncharted territory. Here's something you didn't expect: the cost of a printed book decreased by over 90%. Before Gutenberg, a single hand-copied Bible could cost the equivalent of a modern-day fortune, affordable only to the richest of patrons. After his invention, that same book became accessible to individuals from various walks of life, transforming literacy into a valuable tool for the masses. Think about it. What would our world look like now if access to knowledge remained limited? But the impact of the printing press extended beyond just access to books. It ignited an intellectual wildfire, partly because it empowered individuals to challenge existing ideas and question authority. This monumental shift set the stage for the Reformation. Protestant reformers like Martin Luther capitalized on the technology of the printing press to spread their messages of religious reform far and wide. In 1517, Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg, and within years, his ideas circulated throughout Europe at an unprecedented rate. Luther's words, challenging the very foundations of the Catholic Church, reached readers quickly and transformed public perception. Isn't it remarkable how a single invention could challenge centuries of tradition? The printing press didn't just disseminate ideas, it incited revolutions in thought. Imagine the fervor among people who for the first time realized they had a voice and a platform to express their beliefs and grievances. They no longer needed to rely solely on the church's hierarchical authority. The very fabric of faith and socio-political structures was being rewoven in real time. As we explore further, let's consider another aspect of this transformation: Communication. With the spread of printed material, people became more informed about their surroundings. They could read about distant lands, scientific discoveries, and revolutionary ideas. You might be surprised to learn that as early as the 16th century, pamphlets became the viral media of the time. They carried news of wars, political movements, and scientific advancements to every village and town. It wasn't just a means of entertainment, it became the very backbone of civic life. Now, here's a thought: what led to the rise of modern democracies? Many historians argue that it's the proliferation of print culture paving the way for an informed public, a populace equipped not only with knowledge but the means to engage in political discourse and demand accountability. It's intriguing to think about how the simple act of reading shifted the balance of power between the rulers and the ruled. But the repercussions of the printing press didn't stop with religion and politics. Science, too, felt the tremors. The scientific revolution, which spanned from the 16th to the 18th century, was significantly propelled by the newfound access to printed materials. Think of figures like Galileo Galilei and Isaac Newton, men who revolutionized our understanding of the universe. Their discoveries and theories spread quickly across the continent, challenged prevailing notions, and were subject to rigorous peer scrutiny. For the first time, scientists could access and build on each other's work, multiplying their own discoveries exponentially. Here's something that might surprise you. Before the printing press, scientists often kept their findings private, fearing ridicule or retribution from the establishment. Sharing ideas was dangerous, hence, it inhibited progress. But with the printing press dismantling these barriers, collaboration flourished. Today, we take for granted how much scientific knowledge relies on sharing and collaboration. This foundation was laid down by the printing revolution that opened the floodgates of thought. As we dive deeper into the implications, let's not forget the cultural revolution ignited by the printing press. The spread of literature reached new heights. Common people began to read epic narratives and poetry. The works of authors like Shakespeare and Cervantes transcended their localities to gain European acclaim. Imagine a world where the common man could read a sonnet or a tale of adventure. The growth of a literary culture fostered a new sense of identity and community, which resonates to this day. But why stop there? The printing press also had a tremendous influence on language itself. With the rise of printing, vernacular languages gained prominence over Latin, the language of the elite. Books began to be printed in local dialects, and as a result, literacy skyrocketed, confidence in speaking one's native language deepened, and languages like English, French, and German began solidifying their place in literature and bureaucratic settings. Now, you might be curious about the potential downsides of such a media explosion. Is it possible that the very technology that enabled new ideas could also facilitate the spread of misinformation? Absolutely. Just as printed pamphlets could spread revolutionary thoughts, they were also used to disseminate propaganda and fake news. The inherent power of the printed word means that it can be utilized for both enlightenment and deception, an ongoing struggle that continues in our digital age, providing a meaningful lesson about information consumption. So, where does this leave us today? Fast forward to the 21st century, where we have been thrust into the digital information age. We are inundated with information from our smartphones and computers, with messages reaching us at lightning speed. Can you picture it? The modern successors of Gutenberg's invention lie at our fingertips, shaping our worldview and allowing us to connect like never before. But it also raises questions about the nature of truth and how we discern credible sources in this cacophony of information. As we start to tie these threads together, it's essential to recognize how the legacy of the printing press continues to reverberate through our lives. It was more than just a tool, it was a catalyst for a cascade of changes that laid the groundwork for democracy, shifted social norms, and transformed literature and science. Where would we be without it? What could our society possibly look like in an alternate history devoid of this groundbreaking invention? While we've explored so much, what remains is equally compelling. Grasping the full scope of how the printing press revolutionized the world prompts us to reflect on the places we will go from here. So, stay tuned. In the second part of this narrative, we'll dive deeper into both the transformative power and the complications that arose from this incredible invention, as well as what implications our digital age bears for the future of knowledge and society. The journey of discovery isn't over. Let's unravel the threads further, pushing deeper into history and the pressing questions that linger. As we set forth on the next leg of our journey, let's delve into the multitude of consequences that arose from the advent of the printing press, both the profound benefits and the multifaceted challenges. The scene was set in an interconnected Europe where burgeoning literacy and the availability of texts were reshaping relationships in profound ways. With power now shifting toward the masses, the societal backbone was increasingly dependent on the spread and accessibility of knowledge. However, with this power came new dilemmas that were not present in the era dominated by oral tradition and handcrafted manuscripts. Let's discuss the rise in the phenomenon we now call fake news. Just as the printing press served as a megaphone for revolutionary ideas, it also amplified propaganda and the dissemination of half-truths. Political factions quickly realized the potential of pamphlets to sway public opinion. In the wake of the Reformation, both Protestant and Catholic sides published literature to support their perspectives and undermine the opposition. The urgent scramble for print media allowed misinformation to flourish. This duality is telling. It foreshadows the ongoing battles we face in the digital era, where social media platforms can just as easily be vehicles for enlightenment as they are for misinformation. Already in the 16th century, European citizens began grappling with how to discern what was true or false in the burgeoning tide of print. The printing press catalyzed the creation of hoaxes and dubious editorials, and it becomes vital to recognize that the very essence of navigating truth has been an integral part of public discourse since its inception. In many ways, the struggles of humanity to authenticate information have been ongoing, tracing back to the print revolution itself. Now that we've examined the pitfalls, let's turn our attention to yet another transformation made possible by the printing press: the emergence of secular literature. Initially, most printed materials revolved around religion, but it didn't take long for artists, poets, and thinkers to seize upon the opportunity to reach a wider audience. Works such as Baldassare Castiglione's The Book of the Courtier and Thomas More's Utopia began popping up, inviting readers to reflect on social norms, moral questions, and the very essence of human existence. The allure of these texts inspired engagement in public life, an awakening of civic responsibility. People began to discuss the philosophical and political implications of these new ideas in salons, taverns, and public squares. This cultural debate fueled the increase of participation in local and national governance, generating an empowered public that no longer felt alienated from political matters. However, the printing press was not just a vehicle for European thinkers. The global stage was set for cross-cultural exchanges that reshaped perspectives. Chinese innovations in printing techniques predating Gutenberg appeared, contributing to the spread of Confucian texts and contributing to Renaissance thought via the Silk Roads. As we now know, travel and trade flourished, and explorations of new continents initiated exchanges of information and ideas that transcended borders. Take the case of the Americas following European contact. The arrival of the printing technologies coincided with the Spanish and Portuguese conquests. Written narratives about the New World propagated across Europe, and as explorers penned their tales of adventure and conquest, they elicited curiosity, skepticism, and even controversy regarding colonialism and the ethics behind it. This raises additional questions about the role of the printing press in shaping perceptions of the other. Thus, as the printing press democratized knowledge, it also served as a tool for imperialism, crafting narratives that shaped cultural identities, highlighting biases and stereotypes entrenched in public consciousness. What lessons can we learn about representation, identity, and global interconnectedness from these historical patterns? The responsibility that comes with accessing and sharing information has only grown in our modern context. Then, there emerged perhaps the most significant long-term transformation brought on by the printing press, the establishment of modern education systems. Initially, literacy rates skyrocketed in the wake of printed material availability, leading to a flourishing demand for schools. As new languages and ideas spread, the need for an educated populace became increasingly critical to societal advancement. Public education thrived in response to revolutionary concepts about individual rights, citizenship, and governance. Imagine children no longer confined to the teachings of local parish clergymen alone. Perspectives broadened dramatically as educators pulled from a variety of sources. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, educational reforms flourished. Schools began to teach not just the basics of reading and writing but also math, science, and critical thinking skills. In this regard, the printing press served not merely as a tool for entertainment or propaganda but as a foundational structure that generated the intellectual fabric of modern societies. But the transformative momentum did not halt there. The scientific revolution, already touched upon, continued to expand its reach, propelled by the ease of access to printed works. Figures such as Francis Bacon championed the empirical method, science based on observation and experimentation, while advocates for these methods relied upon the printing press to circulate their findings. The acceleration of knowledge offered unprecedented opportunities for collective advancements in agriculture, medicine, and technology. Consider this: the Age of Enlightenment that emerged in the 18th century can be attributed to the powerful interplay of the printing press and scientific inquiry. Thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau disseminated philosophies that encouraged the examination of human society and a re-evaluation of social contracts. They triggered not only intellectual debates but also political upheavals, revolutionary concepts that would eventually inspire revolutions in France and America, shaping modern governance ideals around liberty, equality, and fraternity. Just as the course of history shifted during the 16th and 17th centuries, so too did the role of the press evolve through the Industrial Revolution. With advancements in technology, including steam-powered printing presses, what had once taken weeks to print transformed into an operation taking mere hours. This exponential growth in production facilitated the rise of mass media, a new frontier that democratized not only knowledge but public opinion as well. As the world entered the 20th century, the importance of the press crystallized in the wake of wars and political ideologies. Newspapers, magazines, and eventually radio became the next iterations of the print revolution, integrating previously separated communities into a single public sphere. The dissemination of information became paramount, as media outlets played an essential role in shaping narratives during critical historical moments, such as the World Wars and the civil rights movements across continents. This brings us full circle to the 21st century, where our familiarity with the internet has ushered in remarkable changes. The key similarity remains: as Gutenberg opened the door to a world filled with inquiry, so too do our modern technologies offer us pathways to uncharted territories of understanding. But what challenges do we face with this new iteration of the printing press? The digital age introduces astonishing capabilities for instant communication and information sharing, which also give rise to similar issues seen with the original printing press. How do we navigate the sea of information? The complexities of our social media landscape amplify the challenges of misinformation, polarization, and sensationalism. So, we find ourselves asking, how can we reach an understanding amidst the noise? The ability to share knowledge must reconcile with the necessity for digital literacy in our current milieu. Rather than being passive consumers of information, we ought to become critical thinkers, actively questioning the validity of what we encounter in our feeds. Information literacy must become as integral to our education as reading and writing, equipping the next generation to engage responsibly with the vast ocean of knowledge at their fingertips. In closing, we return to the heart of what we've explored. The printing press was more than just a fine piece of machinery. It was a pivotal change agent that dismantled barriers, fostered revolutions in literacy, culture, politics, and science, and encouraged individuals to actively engage with their world. Freed from the constraints of oral tradition, humanity took monumental steps toward enlightenment, shaping not only realms of civil society but engaging deeply with the question of human identity and global connectedness. As we stand on the precipice of something new, fueled by the infinite possibilities of modern technology, what legacies will we choose to uphold? Reflecting on the impact of the printing press compels us to consider the interplay of technology and ethics in shaping the narratives that will follow us into the future. Will we ensure access to knowledge remains a collective imperative, or will we allow the siren call of misinformation and division to sway us? With this exploration of the printing press concluding, we can appreciate more broadly how one invention interweaves with the tapestry of human history. Each development shaping ideas, thoughts, and futures. But the quest for understanding continues, reminding us that knowledge is never fully attained, and every journey begins with questions that not only inspire but challenge us in ways that resonate throughout time. So, let's keep asking, what comes next? What will our legacy be as torchbearers of knowledge in an age rich with opportunity and responsibility?